Welcome back to another episode of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Productions. We are joined by the one and only from OnlyBruins, Brett Howard. Brett, how you doing, buddy?
Not bad, dude. Not bad. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk puck, and we got World Juniors coming up, some prospect talk. So I'm pumped to come on here, and I'm glad you reached out and asked me if I was available because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, dude. I feel like we've been talking about this like literally since we started that we were gonna get together and do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like I'm still trying to get over fucking last night's loss to the Bees loss. I mean, man, what a fucking heartbreaker. Like,
What
and
a
obviously,
game, though, eh?
oh man, it was unbelievable game, unbelievable back and forth. And I think the best part about the whole thing was the Allmark Fleury battle. I mean, Jesus Christ,
yeah.
man, unbelievable. And it was kind of funny. I think it was Brandon Duhaime that talked about it. He was like, man, for Fleury to still be doing this at 50 years old, it was kind of funny. And
Yeah.
but man, he stood on his head. But what stood out to you most about that game last night? Like good things, bad things. Obviously there was some brutal play at the end. I mean that a lot of Bruins fans were up in arms about.
The things that stood out to me the most, like you mentioned, like goalie battle. Love a good goalie battle. That was so much fun to watch, dude. Like just watching like obvious shoe-in Hall of Famer go against the previous Vezina winner and just save for save, shot for shot. That was unreal to watch. And then well, like things that like kind of surprised me is like I'll rattle off a couple of them here. The Bruins have the 8th best power play in the league. I had no idea that was you couldn't convince me that they had that 8th best power play in the league. It just
definitely doesn't seem like it, man.
No, not at all. And then the goal differential for the Bruins is like plus 14 in the first period, plus 5 in the second period, 0 in the third period, and then like -6 in overtime. I was like, that is just such an odd thing for the Bruins. Like, the staple of the Bruins has always been, like, a hard-nosed team to play in the third period, comeback team in the third period. And this year's just the complete opposite. Like, they're getting out to hot starts. And this is my biggest problem with the Bruins this year. Like, they can't close out games. That's my biggest thing with them right now.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, obviously, I think that's if you're actually watching these games, 100%. They can't fucking close it out. And another thing I want to talk about, man, is the play of Jake DeBrusk lately. Obviously he's catching a lot of heat, man, and probably justifiably so. What do you think? I mean, obviously, man, I think it's easy for people just to not. I'm not saying they don't understand hockey, but for them to just say, "Fucking trade him, just trade him, let him go." It ain't that fucking easy. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think the next steps are?
Well, this is where I might go on a little bit of a rant here, so I'm going to take a sip. This is my thing. He's playing a great defensive game. He's not putting the puck in the net. He's not getting grade A chances. And, puck luck is a thing in the NHL. And, like, I get that, it doesn't always go your way. That's the hardest league in the world to play in. But this whole, like, let's bring in Lindholm. He's going to be your Lord and Savior. Like, and I'm not diminishing that play DeBrusk made at the end of the game. But it was horrible to watch. And to be honest, I think it does. Like, I made up a lineup today that I knew everyone was going to lose their shit at. That's why I posted it, because it had Lysell in there, and there is a roster freeze, and I already knew that putting the post out. I just was being a shithead because you know me. That's my MO on Twitter. I like to stir the pot a little bit. But this whole, like, trade DeBrusk in your first, which won't get you Lindholm, surprisingly, even though they're playing at, like, the same type of pace right now. Actually, he's playing more at a JVR pace, Lindholm is, but this whole trade DeBrusk in a first for Lindholm doesn't solve your problem. Now you have too many centers. Like, that's how my opinion on it. Like, I'm sick of this Zach as a left winger. When this season has he played left wing? And when, like, and this is my thing. He's played so good at center this year. Why would you put him back on the wing where he didn't produce as good last year? It makes no sense to me. And everyone's like, oh, you bring in Lindholm, that line will be nasty. Zach, Lindholm, Pastrnak. You don't know that. You have no idea that. And And you also then have two playmakers on that line. Yeah, Zach has been shooting the puck a little more as of late, but Lindholm is a career 20-goal scorer. He scored 40 goals one season on the best fucking line in hockey, and all of a sudden he's supposed to come to the Bruins and be the savior. I understand the Bruins have been linked to him. I understand he's Bergeron light. Those things don't go, but you could put a very good argument in that DeBrusk is Bergeron light this year defensively. He's been unbelievable defensively. And that's the thing. So you're going to throw him in a trade and get rid of him just because you don't like him? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're trading DeBrusk, it better be a good hockey trade coming back, and it better not be DeBrusk, Lysell, and a first for Lindholm. I'll tell you fucking that for free, because then what? You're going to pay Lindholm $9 to $10 million next year, which he's trying to command from Calgary? None of it makes sense to me. I think the Bruins should go bargain shopping, and if you want Lindholm, hope to God that he gets to free agency. But I don't know, man. I don't think it's the move this year, especially. Like, the Bruins have depth scoring issues, not top line center issues. And I'm so sick of the narrative that Zaka isn't a 1C. Okay, he might not be a 1C on fucking LA or Vegas, or like, you know what I mean? But him and Pastrnak have such good chemistry and it's working. Why would you put him on the wing and throw another centerman in there? Like, I don't understand it from that standpoint. And analytically, Zaka's been better than Lindholm this year. On the score sheet, Zaka's been better than Lindholm this year. You saw last night, it looked like he was shot out of a freaking cannon, dude. So I think you let Zaka cook in this position. Like, you've probably heard me before. I'm on the Eberle train. That's a depth scoring guy you go get that's gonna be cheap at the deadline. I'm on the swap Forbert and Middleton train. Like, those are the types of trades I'm trying to make this, like low calculated, low risk, high reward trades. Not low calculated, high calculated, low risk, high reward trades.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like, what's kind of crazy to me is that we've gotten in this habit. I think it's really been since, Sweeney's always had phenomenal deadlines, right? Where he's brought in these guys that have made instant impacts. I mean, obviously last year it was, Bertuzzi, Orlov, Halsey. Like, I think
real quick to interject, people don't realize you got Orlov for just a first last year when you really break that trade down.
Yeah, and what's crazy to me is, like, again, everyone's so fast to jump the gun on immediately trade DeBrusk, right? Trade DeBrusk for Lindholm. Well, there's a couple different things on why that won't work and why it shouldn't work. For one, we have a couple kids that are down in Providence that should absolutely be getting a shot and a look, right? What are we doing here? Like, so are we just going to keep in?
Merkulov scored tonight.
He did. And again, Lysell's playing well. He's got a couple areas in his game that he definitely has to. But his
defensive game's looking a lot better.
It's significantly improved. And again, for people just to be like, well, DeBrusk to Calgary. What makes you think fucking Calgary is going to want DeBrusk?
Exactly.
His trade value has absolutely plummeted. Not to mention, he's a free agent at the end of the year, who, again, he thinks he's worth more than he probably is at this point. I mean, I'm not paying him anything more than 4.5, and even that seems kind of high.
I said match it up with Zaka's contract 3 times 4 at the most. I'd even try 3 times 3,
which I think is fair.
For DeBrusk, but yeah.
But again, I just think in Jake's, and I'm not trying to like put words in his mouth, but I think he thinks he's worth more than he actually is. I don't know if you agree with that, but like, again, he's never going to be playing with a Bergeron again. And I think that played a huge factor in his success. Again, at the end of the day, he still put the puck in the net, but I think him playing with 2 future Hall of Famers played a huge role in his success.
And it looked not odd at times, but it was proven at times he drove that line with Bergeron and Marchand, which is wild. But you get a jolt playing with 2 future Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? Like, that shit just happens. It happens all around the league. I think there's a couple scenarios that work out here with DeBrusk. he stays and signs another lower deal, or he signs a longer deal for a lower cap hit. That's the Bruins option, I think, at this point. Or you walk from him, clearly. But if you do walk from him, like you said, I don't see a lot of teams ponying up and give. It's the Bertuzzi thing. Well, is it real? Is he this guy? Is he the streaky DeBrusk? Is he the 30-goal DeBrusk? Like, he was on pace for 35 goals last year before his injury, right? Or something crazy like that. And then even came back and still played really good. I think you see, if they do walk from him, I think you see him go to an Arizona for $4 million for 1 year, or you go, a San Jose somewhere where it's nice. He'll get to play a lot of minutes on the first line, or he signs a really low ticket and goes and plays with McDavid for the year and does what Bertuzzi did, right?
Yeah. So
it goes home.
That was my exact thought. Was now, is this, because obviously we've known he's had, not issues, but again, I think he's always kind of made it known that he would like to play closer to home, like be closer to home. And I think that's something that makes a ton of sense, right? Go play with Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl for a year. Light it up. And who knows?
Yeah. You're playing like, just think about that think about a top line of DeBrusk, Hyman, and McDavid. It's the fastest line in hockey right there. Yeah. But one thing I was going to say, this is where you're at with DeBrusk. People are like, trade DeBrusk. This is where you're at. You're trading him for Kuzmenko, who's been healthy scratched the past 4 games. You know what I mean? Similar cap hit. You get the Canucks to eat $500K. So then you're bringing in a guy who doesn't play defense and scores goals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no winning.
You're kind of doing the same shit at that point.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of that? You might as well keep DeBrusk, who's been in the system, been around the guys. I mean, at that point, it doesn't make sense. And so, again, like, and if we're talking asset wise, like if we're trying to collect assets, what are you getting? A mid-round pick? Like, I don't see
you get a third for the cap space. That's literally what you get.
Which that's not worth it to me at that point.
No, because this is my thing. Like, if Sweeney can masterclass this and convince DeBrusk to take a 2 or 3 year deal for a low cap hit, next thing you know, DeBrusk scoring 30 goals again, and you're like, this is my thing with DeBrusk. Like, would you be shocked if he signed even a 1 year extension and he starts lighting it up and puts up 7 goals in 4 games?
No,
you know what I mean?
I wouldn't, but what's the issue? Like, what do you think the issue is? Do you think it's the line mates? Like, obviously last night at the end of the game, that was an effort thing. 100%.
Oh, yeah, that I don't know. That's, you know what it is? As somebody who played hockey, you're gripping the stick too tight. You're making dumb decisions that you don't normally make. That's what that shot was to me. Like, all the fucking warriors online on Twitter, like, fucking idiot, blah blah blah, should be fucking traded for that. A ninth floor visit, sure, don't care.
Yeah.
You're going on the road. Maybe don't. I guess Brown's gonna have to play on the 4th line, and you could bring Steiner or Lauko up. Like, to be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing a game of Lauko, Zaka, and Pasternak. Just one game. See if it works. Monty's going to flip the lines anyways. Who the fuck's it going to hurt, right? You're going into Winnipeg. You're on the road. Shake things up a little. But I personally don't think he's going to get a scratch for this. But I don't know, man. Like, it wasn't a confidence thing. Maybe it is now. Monty has all the confidence in the world in him. He always praises him. Like, he's doing the right things on the other side of the puck. He literally just isn't finding those grade A chances that he was getting last year that Bergeron and Marchand were making room for him for. Like, and that's the thing too. Like, maybe next game after that you go the other way and you throw him with Zaka and Pasternak and you go, all right, go kid, play on the top line tonight. Get some room, make some room for Pasternak. You're not putting the puck in the net. Get assists. Change your game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that. These are the options you're looking at right now. Not trade him. Like, if you're trading him to get cap space, this is the thing too. This is what people don't get. I made a mock trade of, just to stir the pot a little bit online. I made a mock trade of DeBrusk, Grzelcyk. It's probably gonna have to be a first, and Merkulov for Hanifin and Lindholm. If you're going to go crazy, go all out like that. Go crazy and have one of them come with an extension. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you're shipping out DeBrusk. You know? And like you said, Calgary, like, Grzelcyk and DeBrusk have no trade value. Why would Calgary do that? They can't flip them at the deadline. And if they do, it's to allocate maybe another third and a fourth.
Yeah. I think that's like Bruins fans kind of get away from, is like kind of looking at it strictly from that Bruins lens, right? Like at times like this, you kind of have to like broaden your horizons and kind of look at it from the perspective of Calgary. Like, why is Calgary making that trade? What is in it for them at that point? There is nothing in that deal that's going to benefit them. Nothing.
Oh,
and again, like, there's no reason to do it. And yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, a ninth floor visit is probably warranted. Is Monty going to do it? Probably not, because I don't think they have that luxury right now.
Roster freeze, like, if you're putting Brown in, it doesn't help. You'd rather DeBrusk. As much as everyone hates DeBrusk, you'd rather DeBrusk over Brown in the lineup. Let's be serious.
You ask any Bruins fan. I mean, you're taking DeBrusk any day over Patrick Brown being in the lineup, and then DeBrusk on the ninth floor. Like, it just,
and if you're not, you're not watching games this year.
Right? Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, they were playing fucking Brown at defense at times in practice, so it's like, dude, no way. But
he must be a really good locker room guy. That's the only thing I can think of with Patrick Brown. Why they keep him around.
I mean, he's a good veteran guy. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, he was painful to watch. I mean, we said it during development camp, man, when people were starting to make their like mock lines and they like automatically penciled Patrick Brown in with no Poitras, no, like, I was like, are we like not even just going to give these kids a look? Are we just going to automatically assume this dude's in the lineup? And then sure as shit, man, like, he's not in the lineup.
Dude,
so
how funny is that? Me and you at the prospect challenge, we were like, man, Poitras looks good. Like, he could really push for a spot. And like, we were talking out our ass. We're like, but there's no way, right? Like, Geeky's got that third line center locked up, and then you got Zaka and Coyle, who they've said like are gonna be pushing because Bergeron and Krejci, and all like, I remember talking to Boosie on the podcast about it. I'm like, man, me and Davis think that like this Poitras kid, like, he'll be on the lineup next year for sure, but he'll be pushing, really hard for a spot. And look at it, like, look at him now, right?
Dude, that one game, man, that we, that you ended up coming down for, like, again, every shift he was out there, not only was he just was making plays all over the ice, like, especially we noticed in the defensive zone. And yeah, dude, like, I automatically, and I said it, like, I'm not one of those guys to be like, I fucking told you so, but like, again, I was like, in my mind, I was talking to my old man about it. I'm like, there's no way they can send this kid back to juniors. Like, there's nothing that juniors can do for this kid that's going to help him improve his game and take him to the next level. Like,
and that becomes another issue of they need to start letting 19-year-olds play in the AHL, but that's a whole nother conversation to have.
Yeah, and again, kind of going back to our conversation about all the, people trying to bring, have these huge trades occur. Like, we still have kids in Providence that are cooking right now that I think if you, when given the right and correct opportunity and put in the right position, that I think Lysell, man, I think he should get a shot this year. Like, I think he's deserved it. And again,
him and Merkulov both. Sorry.
No, I agree, dude. 100%. Yeah, those
they
two
deserve an attaboy.
Yeah, and another guy, John Farinacci, too. Like,
you love his game.
I love his game, man. Like, obviously,
we said that at the challenge.
Yeah, he, playing really well, and I love his defensive game. Like, he's a sure two-way center that I just love the way he's playing. I think he would fit perfectly in that lineup. But obviously, with like the emergence of Johnny Beecher, Steen's playing really well. Lauko's doing what he does, fucking firing up the crowd. Yeah. Like, dude, man, he fucking dummied. like how much balls do you have to have, dude? You absolutely dummy someone, right? And then literally immediately after, I go, can you imagine if he would have pulled that off? Like,
oh my God,
absolutely ridiculous, dude. And you can see, like, they zeroed in on him, dude, and he's like staring up at the jumbotron. He's like, what the fuck?
Dude, like, if Fleury's stick wasn't there, it was going in. Fleury accidentally saved that.
Yeah, he did. He did, and like again, man, that would have been absolutely fucking electric.
And like you said too, that's the perfect time to pull that. Like anybody who's ever done a Michigan knows, or like pick the puck up on the ice, you need clean, fresh tape.
Oh, yeah.
And he is sitting right, and the way he picked that thing up behind the net, like I was like, oh yeah, like his stick's fucking ready to go there.
I was like, he's got silky mitts. I was like, I would have never known. He made it look so fucking easy, and man,
dude,
I really wish
that World Juniors he played in, he was great. That's why the Bruins drafted him. Like, and we got him in the 3rd round. He always was a skilled player before his injuries, and he adapted and found ways to get in this lineup. And that's why I've always been a Lauko guy. I like guys that fight like that. You know, they do what they can to get in the roster, and that's why I said, like, if he's got jump like that, and you do really want to sit DeBrusk, throw Lauko up on the top line and just mix and match the lines throughout the game, but give him some shifts with Zach and Pasternak. See what he can do with that Czech connection.
Yeah, I agree, dude, 100%. But kind of transitioning a little bit, talking World Juniors, because I think that's what you and I are most excited for, man. So fired up, man.
US, baby.
How obviously we learned last week that Matthew Poitras was going to be joining the World Canada. What were your thoughts, man, when you first heard that news? Were you excited? Did you agree with the move? What were your thoughts on it?
So, kind of a funny story. I haven't even told this on OnlyBruins yet because we haven't recorded, but I got word in the morning that he was going to the World Juniors. Somebody messaged me and they're like, get ready for tomorrow. They said tomorrow they're going to announce that Poitra's going to the World Juniors. I was like, dope. So I started working on that jersey swap and I made that tweet. I was like, because so many people, it's funny how fast it flipped. So many people were like, don't send him, he's going to get hurt, blah, blah, blah. The second he gets sent, everyone's like, go serve your country, I'm going to be watching, I got to get a Poitras jersey. Like, Bruins fans it goes to the same as how we fight over 13th forwards, but that's a whole nother conversation. But, but yeah, I'm super excited for him. As Canadians, we grow up watching this tournament since we're knee high. I couldn't be, the way he talked about it, he's coming back to the Bruins after, so that was my worry, that maybe they were going to send him to juniors after, but no, they're going to bring him back. And it just sounds like him talking to Sweeney, the whole thing was, you're never going to get this opportunity again. Last year was a stacked Canada roster. There was no way he was making it, even though he was playing as well as he was as an 18-year-old. And it just, it goes to a testament of his Bruins organization having the trust in him, wanting him to have, further his development, giving him a little break. Yeah, the time difference is, you're probably, when he comes back to the Bruins, he's going to have a couple rough games, especially with that time difference coming back. Like, he talked about that first practice. He was up for like 27 hours. He just wanted to get a practice in and meet with the fellas. Him and Bauer gear. Love that. Love Bauer gear. I hate CCM
me about that. Yeah, it was sick, dude.
It looks so sick, but
yeah,
I'm so happy for him. Bergeron went. I know his lockout year a little different. Bergeron went, same type of thing. He was a little older, played with that Crosby team, won a gold medal. All of a sudden, this Canada team went from they're all right to holy shit, you got an NHLer on your top line.
Yeah, dude. So, how much of an impact? I mean, that was my next question. Is like, how much of an impact is adding Poitras make to this roster? Because again, I said it a few weeks back when the roster came out, it was a little bit underwhelming. Just in comparison to last year, like how fucking loaded that roster was. Yeah. Like, especially on the defensive front. I mean, you lose, Korchinski, you lose Brandt Clark, you lose Olin Zellweger, like. All phenomenal defensemen that are playing, NHL minutes right now. Like, how much of an impact is just the ones, Poitras make in Canada making a serious run at the gold?
Well, just think about his playmaking and vision in the NHL, and the plays he gets snubbed on because he's still learning the game, and as a 19-year-old, it is tough to He's talked about it before. Maybe I should make a couple plays and I should dump the puck in. Now you're going to get to see Poitras on full. Anybody who didn't watch him in the OHL, now you're going to get to see the full Potsy. Because, excuse me, because it is a tournament for development and it is a tournament for younger players, but he's been playing at such a high level. He's a half a point per game in the NHL, and he's going to go down and play with some of these guys. And that's nothing against these kids. There's some kids in this tournament that should be playing in the NHL that just don't have roster spots of the team that they're affiliated with, right? A couple, what's his face? Easton Cowan had a great fucking camp for Fraser Mitten. These are the types of players I'm going to be looking for to really make an impact. And thinking about Celebrini and Poitras on the same line.
I was just about to ask that.
Holy shit, dude. Dude. Let's go.
So I think ultimately, I think we have to assume, right, that's going to be the top line going in. Who's another guy that you could, foresee possibly playing with them? You got to assume that left wing spot is open with Poitras at the center position, and then Celebrini probably playing the right wing. A guy that came to mind for me was Matthew Wood. Playing that left wing. He's a big boy, playing at UConn right now. He's a guy that I think could possibly slide in on that line and make some noise. But who's a guy that you could see?
I'm curious if Owen Beck gets a chance with them, just because he's so good defensively. Both sides of the puck, he's a great 200-foot player, and that Potsy and Celebrini are just going to be going off trying to make every play possible, right? So it's that a player like that, Wood's a good one. Man, he's a little smaller, and it makes the line a lot smaller. But Easton Cowan, man, this kid's good on both sides of the puck. I watch him in London a lot. He's actually from around the area in Mount Bridges, so I've known of him for a long time now. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think it could be a revolving door for the first couple games, especially with the teams that Canada's matched up with in that grouping. So I don't know. Either way, dude. It's gonna be so electric. Even Potsy was saying, he doesn't know most of the guys on the team, but he was just excited to get in there and meet everyone and see what they can do as a country. And that's the thing that people that are still mad at this situation, you get a chance to play for your country. It sounded like Poitras asked Sweeney, not asked him if he could go, but once it got brought up, he was like, I would like to go if it's an opportunity, right? And them reassuring that there's a roster spot for him when he gets back, it's a no-brainer in my mind. And I even said it weeks ago on OnlyBruins. I was like, man, I asked Boosie, I was like, would you be shocked if he went to the World Juniors? And he was like, I don't want him going. And I don't know, there's something in the back of my head, as a Canadian, Sweeney being a Canadian, Neely being a Canadian, they know how much this tournament means to Canadians. It just kind of seems like a no-brainer when you step back and look at it after the decision's been made.
Yeah, and that's why I was excited kind of, to have you on, because it's definitely interesting to get that perspective, right, from a Canadian, because I think it's a little bit different, from the American point of view. Obviously it's a big tournament for us, but
it's gotten bigger.
It's gotten bigger, but it's nowhere near what it is for Canadians and kids that grow up in Canada, right, representing their country. And again, I looked at down the road what this would have meant, right, if they kind of were like, no, you're not fucking going. You're gonna stay here and you're gonna play third line and you're gonna, again. And there was one news conference. I don't know if it was after a game or what game it was after, but Poitras kind of made it known, right, to the media that he was like, yeah, this is something I've been wanting to do. This is, this summer, I wanted to come out in development camp, have a good camp, make this team, and then go to World Juniors. He had it in his mind. So, again, you mentioned it, man. It's kind of a no-brainer. I think it's going to be a huge confidence boost for him.
He said he trained in the off season for the World Juniors to make the roster.
Yeah, and not only that, man, but I think we need to look at also the human aspect of this, right? Where again, he's a 19-year-old kid, man, away from home,
gets to go to Sweden.
Yeah, living in a brand new city. He doesn't know any of these kids. But I think with him being with kind of his peers, it's going to be a little bit of a morale boost for him. I think this is huge for him.
And you think about the Bruins roster. Frederick played in this tournament. Swayman played in this tournament. his roommate John
Pasta.
Beecher, Pasta, Saka, like I don't know if Allmark played for Sweden. I'm not 100% sure, but you know what I mean. Like Lauco, like it just there's a lot of ties to this tournament in the Bruins organization. And I just think it's such a good opportunity. How could you let the kid pass it up?
Yeah, exactly, dude. I couldn't agree more. Like, I think you're gonna see a different Poitras come back, and once he gets inserted back in the lineup, I think you're just gonna see he was playing well. I mean, I'm not saying that he wasn't playing well or he was struggling, but I think this morale boost, I think you're just gonna see a different Poitras coming back. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to watch him. I mean, with all the teams, every country, I think he's got to be one of the top players to watch, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like,
and that's the thing too. Like one thing I do want to warn people of, like people are looking at the Lysell experiment last year and sending him, and it's like, man, Lysell played he played in 2 World Juniors last year because of the way that everything worked out. Was it last year or the year before? But either way, he didn't put up the points he was, and it kind of goes into Sweden a bit. Like Sweden had this really young roster because they're hosting the tournament this year. A lot of teams that host the tournament the next year will do something like that because they want the same team going in, and they want to have the ability to use certain players that are younger in the roster. And it didn't really help Lysell's game at all because it was like him and Leo Carlson just kind of felt like they were on this island of their own where there wasn't the level of play that Lysell was getting from Providence and he's seen in NHL camps. And now you got to take a step back while also trying to carry a team step forward. Like this is going to be a little different from Poitras. Like he's coming right out of the OHL, hasn't played as much hockey as Lysell did last year. He's got the encouragement and safety of his team, knowing that he'll be back in the NHL after. Like this is literally an attaboy. We don't need you right now. We're in first place. We can survive without you. Geeky's a very serviceable third line center, which we've seen over the past couple of games since he's come back from injury. It just it just is. I couldn't be happier for the kid, honestly. And that what I said to Boosie is, man, he would look so good in that Team Canada jersey, though. And like, I'm such a weirdo for that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a nerd for jerseys and all that type of stuff. So that's like, and I said about the gear and everything. It just that's how much it means to us as Canadians. Like, I even care about them wearing Bauer gear. Like, it's such a weird thing, but it just means so much to me as a Canadian. Him being a Bruin, he really is following Bergeron's step. I'm not saying he's fucking Bergeron. Everyone gets so mad when you bring that up. But the trajectory of who he is, how he plays, it's very Bergeron-esque. There's some defensive things in his games that he needs to figure out. But, it would have been, looking back, like I just said earlier, looking back on it now, would have been crazy not to send him.
Yeah, it would have been a bummer, man. Like, I would have, you take the human aspect into things. I just would have been bummed out for him knowing that he wanted to go, but they made the right decision. Sweeney made the right decision. Like, it's really encouraging that, he's taking what the players are wanting into consideration. And him being 19, man, getting that encouragement from his GM, that's going to be huge for his, his confidence and morale.
Do you think he lights it up?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Too.
I think
it's a men amongst boys type situation.
I think my prediction, I don't think it's really a bold prediction. I think him and Celebrini absolutely light it up points wise.
Yeah. I don't think Bedard numbers, but definitely like Shane Wright numbers are like last year.
Yeah, I think the lines offensively are so, like when Bedard was playing, man, it was so top heavy, right? Those lines were very top heavy.
Fantilli was your 13th forward.
Yeah, like it's a little more spread out now with this roster that they have. But I think the Shane Wright numbers, comparison wise, I think that's a perfect comparison. Like I think he really
wearing 15 too.
Yeah, I saw that. That was cool, dude. Like, I think Celebrini kind of solidifies himself as that number 1 pick. I mean, I think he already has at this point, but there's still whispers. It's kind of similar to like the McDavid draft where like I think everyone knows Celebrini's going to go 1, but like Eichel's not far behind. Like I love
Yeah.
Yzerman as a player. But again,
He
I
didn't
think
make the roster, right?
he didn't. No, he's still with the National Development Program.
Yeah. So
But
it's
again,
before
man, you look
Sorry.
at this roster though, it's like it's super complicated because obviously he's a really gifted goal scorer. Like probably I don't even know who I'd compare him to, but like again, little bit of a defensive liability.
Mhm.
And I think if you have a guy like Cole Yzerman who scores as much as he does, now you're putting him in a possibly a fourth line role. I just don't see where that really makes sense, right? Especially
Mhm.
him, not that he's a full liability defensively, but he's not as strong as some of the other players on that roster.
Well, US's MO is always like I could be wrong. Did Kuntar play for the World Juniors?
Duran did.
Duran, that's who I'm
Riley
thinking of.
Duran, yep.
And that's very MO of the US to take a legit fourth line. Like Beecher played on the fourth or third line
Yep.
when he was on, right? Like it's very, and that's where Canada's a little different where they'll take goal scorers and
Oh yeah.
they'll put them on the fourth line. So like I said, Fantilli was the 13th forward last year. But real quick before we fully get into the US roster, I do think, like you said, these Canada games are going to be very high scoring. Lots of overs are going to hit. You know what I mean? A
Oh,
lot of
100%.
5-4 games, 6-4 games. Like you're going to see just no defense out there at all.
Yeah, and kind of, like I said, before we get into the US side of things, I want to mention that you put a tweet out today mentioning the Canada versus Latvia game. It's going to be Matt Poitras versus Dan Melis.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be especially for Bruins fans, both being Bruins prospects. I think they're our only 2 prospects, right?
Yeah, yeah,
In this tournament. Yeah. So I think
yeah,
we're going to be doing a live stream for that. So look,
yeah.
keep
It's
an eye
nice
on
because it's
that.
a 1:30 game. The day
Yes.
I know you guys don't celebrate. It's not a celebration, but like we have Boxing Day up here the day
Yep.
after. That's the start of the tournament, and the 27th is what do people do on the 27th? They kind of just wind down. So anybody who's just winding down, having a couple wobbly pops, at noon, come over to me and Chris because we'll be hosting that, and
Yep.
it's gonna probably turn into a shit show, and it's gonna be a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, can't wait, man. I honestly, like, I'm so fired up that because this is like our first year kind of actually knowing each other, right? Like, I think towards
Mhm.
the end of last year we kind of met, and to meet someone who loves the World Juniors as much as I do, man, like I'm so fired up,
Yeah.
especially for this game. But kind of transitioning into the U.S. roster, they announced today their captains. They announced Michigan from Michigan, Rutger McGroarty.
Mhm.
As well as
Hell of a
from
player.
B. Oh man, I love his game.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Cutter Gauthier from BC, another fucking stud. Lane Hutson from Boston
Mhm.
University, and then I am missing. I believe it's Ryan Chesley from Minnesota. Let me check on that. I should have wrote it down, but I'm a fucking dumbass. But man, so what are your thoughts on this roster? I mean, it's constructed a little bit differently
Mhm.
than Canada's. Like, who are some guys that really pop out to you and you're excited to see?
Well, two guys that I actually saw live when I came down to Boston. I saw Boston College versus UMass Lowell. Will Smith and Gabe Perreault.
Perot, yep.
Perreault. Dude, Will Smith scored the nastiest backhand toe drag goal I've ever fucking seen in real life. Like, it was so filthy. And he's one guy I've really had my eye on. I'm excited to see. Rutger McGroarty, he's sick. Ryan Leonard, he's an ox out there, also plays for Boston College. And it's funny, maybe in Brett Howard, Isaac Howard. I wanted the Bruins to draft him
He's a
in
stud.
22. Yeah, and he wore that turtleneck to the draft. Do
Yeah,
you remember that? Dude, he's such a beauty. Like that's the thing. There's a lot of kids on this team that are just absolute beauties. Like Lane Hutson, like you said, great player. What's his name? This Eric Paul Camp, the
uh,
defenseman,
yeah. Hold on, I'm
plays
pulling it
at
up.
Benji State University. He's a Canadian
Bemidji.
college. Bemidji, okay. Yeah, this kid, I like his game as a defenseman. Yeah, Lane Hutson. Who else? Oh, Trey Augustine, that goalie. I really like him. He's sick.
Yeah.
This roster is constructed like an NHL roster, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
You mentioned it earlier, just the way that because they will bring a fourth line. Like, they're not going to load up on forwards. You mentioned it. Yeah, you didn't see Cole Eiserman on this roster. You didn't see he's, projected to be the number 1 pick in 2025, James Haggins. He's not on this roster. They sent him back to the National Development Program. They construct these lines very strategically, and I think this is. And I'm a dumbass, and the other alternate captain that I missed was Gavin Brindley from Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Don't know how I missed him, because he, again, another beauty, another stud. But 3 guys that you mentioned, two guys, sorry, all Michigan State guys. Michigan State, man, is kind of a wagon. Not gonna lie. Like, I was at Conti Forum, where BC was playing Michigan State, and you mentioned Isaac Howard, Trey Augustine, and another guy that's draft eligible this year. I don't know if you heard anything about him, Artem Leveshnov.
I've heard his name.
He's a projected top 5 pick, man, and he's so silky, like nasty. True freshman. He's projected a top 5 pick, and I wish he was. I don't know if he's playing in this. No, he's not, because of Russia.
Yeah.
But dude, like, again, just nasty. This whole roster is so exciting. A guy that kind of pops out to me that I'm hoping to kind of, not that he's been struggling, but is Oliver Moore.
Yes.
He was
Bruins were trying to get him.
Yeah, he was the 19th pick, behind, obviously, Bedsy. The fact that he fell to 19, you mentioned it. Yeah, I was hoping the Bruins were going to jump up and at least try to grab him, but Chicago kind of swooped in, and they were able to grab him. He's a guy, man. He's scored a couple highlight reel goals this year. I'm excited to see him. I don't know what role he's going to be playing, or what line.
A smaller U.S. team though this year.
Yeah, I'm looking down the line, man. Like, even forward wise, like, yeah, Cutter Gauthier 6'3", like, but he's not really a physical type. I mean, he's just a pure goal scorer. Yeah, Danny Nelson at 6'2", Jimmy Snuggerud, another guy.
Brindley at 5'9".
Yeah,
that's the one I'm looking at.
What's crazy is, even looking at their decor, man, they have a bunch of. I wanted to bring this up, actually, my scatterbrain, dude. With the Canada roster, a guy that I'm really excited to watch is Denton Mateychuk.
Oh yeah,
and I think he's going to kind of play that role that, like, Brant Clark did. We mentioned Brant Clark, Olin Zellweger, and Kevin Korchinski. I think he's a guy that's really going to step up and be, solid offensive defenseman. But yeah, looking at this decor, man, it's very, very small. Seamus Casey at 5'10", Lane Hutson at 5'10", Zeev Buium 6'2". He's draft eligible this year. Just a small defensive core.
Yeah, like Rinzel's your biggest guy at 6'4", and he only weighs 176 pounds. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and then even Lane Hutson, 5'10", 162. Like, that's a smaller decor compared to the most in the past of that we've seen from the US, right?
I'm excited to see their team speed in comparison to Canada's, because it just seems very similar, like how fast this team, especially adding Poitras, dude, like, it just seems both teams, it's not going to be necessarily physical. It just seems like it's going to be a very fast-paced game, back and forth.
Well, I think this is where you see, too, like, they made a joke in Shoresy, the new season of Shoresy, like, the World Juniors, it's pretty much basketball now. And, like, it's because the game's changing, internationally, they don't, you can get 10s for like some questionable hits that probably shouldn't be a 5 and a 10, right? And like you don't want to get kicked out of this tournament, so it's more skilled based. That's why you do see a lot of these players that do come now like are more hockey IQ intelligent than bronze IQ intelligent.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I'm super excited to see because although I love the fights and hits, like obviously we're fucking drop the mitts.
There'll be some big hits too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean?
But I always love seeing the speed and just these kids' hockey IQs, man. Like we mentioned it, like at 19, Poitras' IQ, dude, was like off the charts. I hadn't seen anything like it live like that. I was like, there's no way this kid isn't making the team. Like he's 2 and 3 steps ahead of everyone, of his own peers. Are there any guys on any other countries' teams that you're like excited to watch or that you kind of heard about and have expectations for?
Well, like obviously Locke Mellis, just because like he's been doing so well at UMass, right?
Yep, UMass Amherst.
Yeah, he's been doing so well at UMass. I think he's another guy who's going to be eventually on the Bruins roster. It might take him a couple years to get that Providence game down path, but he's really exciting, and he's going to be on the top line of Latvia. Like Latvia only has like one other kid going, I think, that plays in like North America or something like that. So that's going to be exciting to see him, especially him face off against Poitras, like we said earlier. That'll be fun. There's a couple kids on Sweden and Finland. Like I said like earlier, like Sweden's bringing back the same team essentially that they brought last year, minus Lysell and Carlson. And like I'm so bad with names, I don't know the names of them. There's a couple studs on those teams that I'm sure you might know that play over here, but
it's probably the guy I'm thinking of in Finland. So yeah, he's projected top 10 pick. Team Finland, Konsta Helenius. Projected. Yeah, one of the mock drafts I just looked at, they had him projected going to fucking Buffalo, of course, right? It's like Buffalo keeps fucking getting all these studs, man, like Benson last year, Matty Savoy. It's like they're gonna add this guy and still be fucking garbage.
Were you shocked they didn't send Benson real quick?
I was, man. I've been tweeting about it literally for like 3 weeks. I'm like, listen, if Buffalo decides, because why wouldn't you? At the point that they're at, man, they're projected top 10 right now. I think they're sitting at like 8th project, obviously with the lottery and everything, but standings wise, they're the 8th worst team right now. Like, why wouldn't you send him? I don't know if it was a matter of he didn't want to go. I don't know.
Yeah, and no like idea. They have players coming back from injury too, which is even weirder. Like he was in the he's been playing because they've had tough injuries this year. But like I'm pretty sure Greenway and somebody else are like close to returning on that roster, and it shocked me.
Jack Quinn just came back too. I want to say like
that's who it was
Monday, and so I was shocked because we talked about that first line, man, with Poitras and Celebrini. Can you imagine fucking throwing Benson on that line on the left wing, like?
And that's the thing too, like this kid's getting peppered every fucking night. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's having not he's playing bad. I just mean the team is on a whole.
Yeah.
You think you would like Boston's playing great and they're in the position, but it's like, is Buffalo think they're gonna get out of this all of a sudden and he's the answer? Like, you know what I mean? Like it really doesn't make sense to me.
What doesn't make sense to me is Matty Savoy's going.
Yeah.
So, like, again, it was kind of crazy because at that, the prospect challenge, he was another one, man. Like, he was my first interview, I think, for Drop the Mitts because I just was watching his tape, man. I'm like, this kid he's just thick, stocky, like, great hands, and his shot is unbelievable. And then finally made the trip, and I watched him one game play with Matty Savoy. And, like, again, they played, the Wenatchee Wild together. Formerly Winnipeg Ice. And I was like, man, I can't believe
that logo was so sick. Sorry. I had to say that real quick.
No, they
got rid of that. It was one of the it's so sick.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in watching both of them, man, I'm like, they're both making the roster. It was very similar to Poitras, where I was like, it's a no-brainer. Like these two will help, and Matty Savoy didn't make the roster. They sent him back to junior. but yeah, and they're sending him, but not Benson, which is kind of mind-boggling to me. But yeah, again, to answer your question, yeah, I'm really surprised that they're not sending him, and I think it would have been good for him.
I remembered the Sweden player. Funny enough, it's a great little segue. Well, there's two of them, but the one that I was thinking of, he's actually a Buffalo prospect, Noah Ostelin.
Yes.
That kid is sick, dude.
They have
that
sick
kid
prospects.
Is sick.
Yeah, they have dude, their prospect pool is unbelievable. Another guy that's in the tournament as well, Yuri Kulich. He was also at the prospect challenge, and he was playing with Isaac Rosen, who was a first round pick. I want to say in 2017. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, dude, like again,
he played in the World Juniors, captained them. He captained Sweden in World Juniors.
Their prospect pool is unbelievable. And then like later on in the episode, I'm going to be doing my top 10, mock draft, and like they're slated to get the 8th overall pick. Like, are the tides going to turn for Buffalo? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Heat Daddy had a good tweet the other night. It was something along the lines of, the problem with Buffalo is that they've had too many first round picks. They don't have anybody to play lower in their lineup, it feels like. And then you get to a point where you're shipping out, like, not Eichel's a bad example, I guess, but you're shipping out players to make room for these kids. You know what I mean? Like, you could have built a roster with it. That's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother rant, but another Swedish kid, since we're on Sweden real quick, I will probably go back to the States, but this Felix Unger Sorum.
I haven't heard. Is he draft eligible this year?
He was a 2nd round pick in the most recent draft to the Hurricanes, but he's sick, dude. He's like like Poitras, undercover sneaky good.
Yeah. Those are, I mean, as a 2nd rounder, yeah, that's like, dude, I'm so excited to just kind of like really sit down and like dissect these, like, these, especially this upcoming class, like the class that just happened, like actually watch the game and just be like invested in it. Because again, you mentioned it before we started airing, this is a huge tournament, dude, for people to make significant jumps in draft boards. Like, it's a huge tournament. Like, this is huge for these kids. And, a lot of players kind of shine and step up and they fly up these draft boards. I mean, you saw it last year with a couple guys.
Like, you let's go back even a little further. Like, I'm not dating myself a bit here, but like Jesse Puljujarvi, he lit the fucking tournament on fire and ended up going 4th overall. Yeah,
that's a perfect example, dude. Yeah, like, again, this tournament has huge implications on just draft boards from every fucking GM across the league. Like, you best believe every GM is going to be watching this tournament very closely, right?
Oh yeah. Someone should hire us, because we'll probably be watching it just as much. Holy shit.
Shit, I'm not even going to be leaving, man. They probably won't hire us because we'll be drinking a few cold pops during the game. But
like, dude, that's the thing that people don't get to. Like, even Germany versus like Switzerland, they're good fucking games because you get like evenly matched teams that don't have these star players. Like not organizations, but I'm blanking on the word, but like the Hockey Canada, the USDP, like these countries are out there trying to do their own version of that, like in Germany and Switzerland, and like that's where you see like Nico Hischers and like Tim Stützle. Like, it's like those games are fun to fucking watch too. So anybody who's like, I'll watch Canada's game or I'll watch UFC, man, if you love hockey, and this is how I explain it to people. It's like if you took the CHL, like the OHL, WHL, Q, and you morphed it with the NCAA. That's like the type of hockey you're watching out here. Like, it's fast paced, high skill. You'll probably see a Michigan or two in the tournament. Like, it's hot dogging and hard play. Like, it's everything into one. And it's just, I don't know. Like, I always bet on like the Germany games and shit just to like keep it interesting, right? Like, it's like, dude, it's so much fun.
Now that it's legal here in Mass, like, you best believe, man, I'm going to be such a fucking degenerate. Like,
oh yeah.
Again, I'm going to be like, who knows, fucking Germany versus whoever. Like, I'm going to be betting on that shit.
There was an upset last year that Germany had. They were plus 450 and I hit it. I
forget
who it was against. Yeah. I hit it. It was in, I think, Czechia, maybe? I can't remember now, but the tournaments do bleed into each other just because they're so electric, right? Like, I was bringing up, when I was talking about Eberle and the OnlyBruins podcast, I was bringing up about that fucking historic goal he scored to tie it against Russia with like 7 seconds left. And like, I remember those moments as kids, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's just, even Dylan, in overtime last year, Dylan Gauthier from Arizona, like that goal he scored, he didn't even know what to do with his hands. He just like kind of like, it's just so electric, and those moments are just so unforgettable.
I don't know if it was on Twitter or if I was watching NHL Network, man, but they were showing fucking old Phil Kessel highlights, man.
Oh,
like electric. Him. Oh my God. I was like, what the fuck happened to him?
Dude, one night I was super drunk and I dropped a couple shrooms, and there was a fucking World Junior old school game on, and it happened to be the Crosby Bergeron Jeff Carter game. Dude, in the fucking semifinals, they were up 8-2 against Finland. I watched the whole game. I was like, this is so electric.
You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was like, this is unbelievable. Dude, it was so old. The ice was almost blue still. You know what I mean? Like the World Juniors, some of them, they have the blue ice. It's so electric.
That's so sick, man. I'm so fired up for this tournament. I'm so fired up for that Canada Latvia game when we get to live stream. It's going to be awesome. But we'll
definitely have special guests and stuff too for everyone listening. It won't just be us two idiots drunk and talking. There'll be definitely there'll be guests coming in, and that's the thing too. Like we got like it's. We got skinned in that game completely, right? You know what I mean? Like we'll be cheering for Locke Mellis because we want him to see him do good, and obviously me as a Canadian, I want to see Potsy light it up. So that's gonna be so like right when you posted that today, I instantly messaged you. I was like, "We're live streaming this. I already ran it by the fellas. This is fucking happening. Like it's a go."
Dude. Well, hey man, honestly, again, thanks for fucking bailing me out on this episode. Anytime. I always love World Junior talk. I'm so fired up, man. Just kind of, talking about this and going through the rosters and everything. So fired up, and best believe we'll be talking back and forth. But yeah, man. Anything else you want to bring to the table?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I just want to say thank you for having me on. I'm glad I was like, first guy that you thought of for this. Cause like you said, like I know last year we weren't talking during the World Juniors, but we've always talked prospects, and, I always come to you or you come to me when we see those dirty plays. We're like, who is this kid? What's going on? Right. Yep. So it's always awesome to talk. I'm glad I got to come on here. Finally, you guys are doing a great thing over here at Drop the Mitts. If you don't already, come check me out at OnlyBruins. We've got a good show over there, and there's all over the Primetime Network. We've got sports all around, so make sure you come check us out. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on. This was a fucking blast, dude. I can't wait to come back and do this again. We'll have to do another one during the tournament. We'll recap the shit we've talked about, and you know what I mean? Talk about some of these prospects.
100%, man. And again, for all you guys listening, go toss Brett a follow, at Brett Howard _ from Primetime Productions and OnlyBruins Podcast. Is the handle for the OnlyBruins at OnlyBruins? Just at
OnlyBruins Pod.
Okay, so yeah, go toss them a follow. I mean, they've got some unbelievable content that they put out every week. Awesome, hilarious shows, man. Especially with Bobby's Corner and you and Boozy are just absolute clowns. So man, can't thank you enough, bro. And we'll be talking for sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for letting me do this.
All right, buddy. Take care. Love you.
Peace. Love you, dude.
Welcome back to another episode of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Production. We have episode 25, Aidan McDonough's lucky number. We got the two-time Beanpot winner and current forward of the Vancouver Canucks, and also former captain of the Northeastern Huskies. Aidan, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Man, happy to finally have you on. It's been kind of a long time coming, and you've been ripping it up. But yeah, it's all good, man. Yeah. Dude, what has life been like? Also, like last year was so crazy for you. You're in college, you're playing in Beanpots, you're playing at Fenway, and then all of a sudden it kind of seemed like snap of a finger, you're on a plane, you're heading to play in your first NHL game. What was that whirlwind like?
Yeah, life back then, that last year was a whirlwind. It was insane. I think I couldn't have dreamed it out any better. I guess the only way it would have been better is if we played a little bit longer at Northeastern. We obviously kind of season ended a bit shortly there, but other than that, it was amazing. It was dream come true. I was excited to go back to Northeastern and finish my degree and play with the guys that I had for 4 years and continue to build my game. And like you said, Fenway, the Bean Pot, two unbelievable experiences, and then next thing you know, I'm on a plane to Arizona to meet the Canucks on the road and, travel with them for about a week and then play my first game. And then the summer was hectic as well. And then now it's kind of settled down a little bit. It's back to reality and kind of like back to our normal routine. And it's just kind of back to hopefully developing and continue to build my game.
Yeah, you mentioned that group that you guys had at Northeastern, man. You guys were so freaking fun to watch. Jordan Harris, Jaden Struble, I mean, Devin Levi, the list goes on and on. What was it like playing with that group and just those guys? I mean, they're unbelievable players, but they just seem like even better guys off the ice.
Yeah, I think you said it. Like, they're just unbelievable people off the ice, and that's what makes it so special. I think, when you're with people for, 3 to 4 years and play with them for that period of time, you get to know them so well. You get to love their insecurities and or their imperfections. I mean, like, you get to know a guy really well and you become so close. And we had a really close knit group at Northeastern and we still talk almost every day. But it was a blast. Going to the rink every day was amazing. Just spending so much time, and we would spend hours at the rink, whether before or after practice. And then you're, going to eat with them. And then you're in the dorms. Like we spent so much time together, and be able to play with those guys and have the memories that we did and win games and win championships. And that's kind of what it's all about is, kind of creating that bond between, your best friends and then, watching it come to fruition with winning. And then now it's just a joy to kind of watch them play, whether it be in the NHL or the AHL or, some guys are still in college. It's amazing. And it's something that's kind of what I wanted going to Northeastern. Obviously there's so many factors, in terms of development, the education, the city, the coaching staff, all that. But ultimately, like, I wanted to go there and feel like it was home and have best friends that I'll have for the next, the rest of my life. And that's ultimately what I got. And, I couldn't be more grateful for that.
Yeah. So what did it mean, man, to wear the C for that team? I mean, obviously we just mentioned a bunch of, phenomenal guys, but to be the leader, have that C on your chest, what did that mean to you to be the leader of that group?
Yeah, it meant everything. I think it kind of started, the idea popped in my head when I got there my freshman year, and Ryan Shea was my captain my freshman year. And he just set such a good example for all of us, kind of how to conduct yourself on and off the ice, how to prepare, how to play hard, how to, bring the guys together away from the rink. Like, there was just so many things. Him, but not only the whole senior class was amazing. And I think right there, I kind of realized, like, that's what I want to be, one day. Like, I want to be the guy that kind of does that. And to have him, Zach Solo, Jordan Harris, among many other guys that kind of helped pave the way for me, and heralded guys, Brendan Van Riemsdyk, John Picking, even guys like Curtis Fry. Like, there was just a lot of, really good guys that kind of helped me throughout my 4 years there, and be able to kind of represent all of them. Because when you're the captain of Northeastern, it's not just the current team, it's, all the previous alumni and players that you represent as well. And it was, just an honor to represent all of them.
Yeah, and we mentioned in the intro, the Bean Pot, and obviously, you're from Milton. I'm from Mass as well. For the listeners that don't know how big of a tournament that is, like, dude, what was it like playing in that? Obviously the packed garden. Like, what was it like? And then literally your last one, you score in the shootout, and to win it. Like, what was it like playing in that tournament?
It's it means everything. Like, I went to every Bean Pod until I went to Cedar Rapids to play in the USHL. So I went to, probably from, 4th grade on. And sorry, one sec. I'm talking to someone, Gats. I'm living with a couple of roommates here.
You're good, bro.
Sorry about that. We got 4
You're
guys
good,
in the
dude.
house. All played college, so we call it the frat house here in Abbotsford.
You're good, man, dude. One of our last I think it was Trevor Kuntar we had on, and he was sitting on. Literally, all he had with him was like his bed and whatever, and Mark McLaughlin literally just barged in. And he was like, "Oh, my bad." Like, it was perfect, and so yeah, man, it's all good.
Yeah, so sorry about that, but
No, you're good, dude.
But I remember the question. So yes, it was. Like I said, I went to every one for my whole life, and those guys were my heroes. Those were the guys that, growing up, I just wanted to play college hockey, play in the bean pot. I wasn't ever playing the NHL or achieve all these other things. It's like, no, I just want to. Those guys were my idols. I looked up to guys, local guys that played at local colleges that went up to play in the NHL. Like, those are the guys that I wanted to be like, and it was amazing. I think it's funny, like, guys now, because I play now with John Stevens, who played at Northeastern, and he didn't get to win one. But we always talk about it, and we talk about Northeastern, and guys on the team give us a hard time, and they're like, it's a 4-person tournament. Like, you win 2 games, you win. Like, it's so dumb. So the other day we were golfing. We played Coachella Valley in Palm Springs, beautiful area. And we were going golfing, and the guy who was checking us into the golf course is from Framingham. So we start to talk. And he's like, no way, you went to Northeastern. So did you win a bean pot? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh my. And he starts going off about how great the bean pot is. And the kid next to me played in the OHL. And he's like, I'm sick of this. Like, I'm tired of hearing about this tournament. But it really is. I think people don't understand how much it means to the city of Boston and the kids that grew up in it and the individual universities. Like, it's huge bragging rights. And something that I'm most proud of is just like the student support that we got at the bean pot. It seemed to get better and better every year.
Yeah, dude, it was electric.
Insane. Like, the student
year,
turnout.
Man. Yeah, dude, unreal. And you get like each corner, right, of like like schools, and then it's just like a complete gong show by the second game, dude. It's like,
I know. And I think that's for Northeastern, it's so special because we don't really have anything else that brings the school together like that. We don't have a football team. There's not a major party scene in terms of like homecoming or spring weekend. There isn't really anything that like the whole school can get together and kind of show their school pride for. And I think the Bean Pot's amazing opportunity for that. And for us to kind of be the centerpiece means a lot. And I think, the university has done so much for all of us as players that, it's amazing that we're kind of the focal point.
Yeah, dude. So obviously Milton, and then you, along with the Bean Pot, you got the chance to play at Fenway, less than an hour away from Milton. What was that experience like, dude? Like, you're playing, you got the Green Monster right there. Obviously, you're literally at Fenway. It's been around however many 100 years, and you're skating literally on the field. Like, what was that experience like, dude?
That was a really cool experience. I grew up going to Red Sox games. I went to the first Frozen Fenway when BC played BU, and I think it was 2014 or 2012. And I was there.
I'm pretty sure I went to that one as well. I think it was 2012.
I think it was 2012. Yeah, because I was at the Sun Life Frozen Fenway. I sat up behind first base. So that was just so cool, and I was enthralled by it. And obviously, always watching like the 24/7 Winter Classics. Like, those were so cool to kind of get the behind the scenes of like an outdoor game. So it was just really cool. I have an uncle that works as an usher at Fenway. So every time I go to the game growing up, it would always be, seeing him and spending time with him. So just be able to play on the ice, it was amazing. I think the best part about it is that you get to practice the day before on the ice. You only get 30 minutes. Every team gets 30 minutes to practice. But that's really cool because you could get to take pictures and take it all in and really have fun with it and enjoy it. And then obviously when you're playing the game, so you're still, obviously kind of focused on playing the game. But it was really cool. It was interesting. Like, it wasn't really that loud. It was like dead silent on the ice, and there was a good crowd there. But it's just everything's so much further away because you're kind of used to the fans being on top of you. That it was like delayed sound, like after a big save or a hit or a goal, like would kind of be silent, and then you could hear the fans like kind of later. But it was really cool, and to be able to play there and obviously win, and then we were kind of struggling there for a bit. We won, and then we went on a bit of a streak. Was really cool.
So, like, how was the ice surface? Was it like kind of like a pond hockey feel? Like, I don't know. Like,
it was unreal. Like, it was perfect weather too.
Yeah,
it was
I remember going to the Winter Classic, this past Winter Classic that the Bruins played in. It was like impeccable weather, but it looked like the ice surface was like kind of jacked up. Like, they kept having to go out there, and so I was curious, like, if you guys had any issues like with the surface itself.
No, I remember the ice being good. It was like a little dry. But the weather was perfect. It was like cloudy and like it was cold, but not too cold. Like there was no glare from the sun. The ice was good. It definitely, I guess, towards the end of the periods, it got really snowy, almost like you're playing pond hockey.
Yeah. So I was listening to I think you were on the everything college hockey podcast. They're cool dudes. And I forgot that you had that Selly dude, the batting. Like, what did you have that planned like before like the game even started, or was it just kind of like spur of the moment?
It was spur of the moment. I'm looking back, I kind of wish I didn't do it because it's embarrassing. Like sometimes you see some of those things and you're like, oh boy. But
I thought it was electric. Dude.
I think I saw it growing up. I think it was Warsofsky or Shattenkirk on BU did it, maybe in that Frozen Fenway in 2012.
I think it was Shattenkirk.
Right? I think it was to them. And then I want to say McAvoy did it for BU, and then Gaudette did it for Northeastern. So just growing up watching all those games, like I'd be glued to the TV or at the games. I'd always see guys do it. I'm like, that's so cool. And I was always thought like one day if I get a chance to play out there, I would do it. And then I didn't obviously think about it before or during or anything. And then it happens, and I was kind of like, okay, well, this is my chance. I'll do it. And it kind of just happened.
And Cutter Gauthier did it last year too, so he's carrying on the tradition.
Yeah, he did.
So I want to go back. So obviously another part of, Massachusetts hockey is how phenomenal the prep hockey is. And you played at Thayer Academy, which is, phenomenal school. I was there a couple times this summer getting to skate. What did Thayer Academy and just playing in that prep league do for your development? And ultimately, what did the school do like to get you ready for Northeastern?
So much. Probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life is to go to Thayer. I think go to Thayer, go to Northeastern. I mean, Cedar Rapids wasn't really a choice. It was more of I got drafted there, so I kind of was going there. And then same thing with Vancouver. But Thayer was influential in my life. It taught me so much. First, like academically, I came from Milton Public Schools, which is great education. But I think that it's very similar to college in terms of your schedule, your work, like the community. It was just amazing. The teachers, everyone there, the whole staff. I had an absolute blast. Like I met some of my best friends. We still are best friends from Thayer. And then hockey was the most, important few years of my life because I learned how to really play hockey. My freshman year at Thayer, I was 5'8", 150 pounds. I didn't get into any other prep school. My grades were good, but I don't think anybody else wanted me. And Tony Amonte knew me from when I was younger. And I think he saw that, this kid, could have a chance. And he pushed me really hard my first few years. And luckily I grew and I grew on the ice as well as off the ice. But it was such a blast. And I think, first of all, I think the schedule allows you to play that half season, which was really important. And to get in the weight room because you're not playing as many games. So I was working out a lot during those 4 years, and that really helped me. As well as the schedule, like the ISL is, I'm not sure if it's taken a bit of a dip now, but like back then playing against Nobles or Sebs or Bell Hill, like those
so
were
good
battles. There was, 10 D1 guys on every team. And the other guys that weren't were probably going NESCAC. So like we had really good divisions, really good teams that the hockey prepared me very well. But the life skills and going to schools with people from, different cultures, different towns, playing baseball in the spring and then the college schedule, like it's very similar in terms of like you have classes till a certain time, then you go to the rink and you come home and they probably do homework. And then it was just amazing. So I had a blast and, I still love Thayer to this day.
Yeah. Like, so you got to skate there this summer, right?
Yes.
You play in that 3-on-3 tournament?
I did. Yeah. I played a couple times.
Dude, what is playing that tournament like? Because you guys are on that like super small ice surface and you guys are all friggin' animals, right? Like, I mean, big boys. And it's like, you got that little ice surface and you're trying to just, you get the puck and you have to make a snap decision. Like the ice surface isn't big where you can just carry it around. What's it like playing that summer league? I mean, you got guys like, Charlie Coyle playing there. Man, just I mean, Trevor Kuntar, I know, is playing there, and yourself. I can't think of the names top of my head. McLaughlin, um, Mike Hardman too. He's another clown, dude. He's so funny. What's it like playing in that? In that summer league?
It's great. Yeah, it's fun. It's just good in the summer to kind of have that, like, feel the pressure of guys on you, because if you do flow skates or skill skates, or you don't really get that kind of like competitiveness, and then you also don't get that small area type battle. And that league is good for that. It's fun because, like you said, the ice sheet is really small, so you have to make plays quickly, and you're playing against other good players. So yeah, usually it's competitive, and it's a good time. Yeah, I like that. And other than sitting in traffic, it's at like 5 o'clock. It's not bad at all.
Yeah. So like, what would you say was the biggest like adjustment for you? Obviously, we mentioned early in the episode, you kind of just everything happened so fast for you, right? You're playing for Northeastern, you're playing against college kids, and all of a sudden you're literally one day you're playing against NHLers. Like, what would you say besides the speed and everything? What would you say like was the biggest difference for you? And then in noticing those differences, what have you tried to like improve upon your own game to kind of try to get to, be successful at that next level?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can speak more on the American League just because the NHL was like such a whirlwind and like a fantasy land. And I was kind of just, they were kind of just like, hey, listen, like, we're going to show you briefly what the structure is, but we don't want to give it to you too much. Just go out there and just play.
Yeah.
So that was like, I was just like on cloud nine. I didn't really even like think or remember what happened in any of those games because it was just like such a blur. But I think as in the professional level, I think the biggest adjustment, I mean, there's a lot of them, honestly. I wish the list was a little shorter. But I think it's just adapting to a new role, a new system, a new style of play. I think at Northeastern, I was looked upon as the go-to guy to score goals and produce offense. I'm not saying that I can't do that at this level. I think we have a lot of good guys on our team that do that. And it's more of like, let's round out the rest of your game. And, defensively, smart puck decisions. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I've kind of had to adapt to a little bit and learn. And I think I'm growing and I think I'm doing better as we've gone along. But I could get away with a lot of Northeastern in terms of like, knowing that I'm going to be playing, 20 minutes a night, and I know I can make, mistakes here and there, but I'd probably get a goal to make up for it. Where here, everyone's so good. And there's so many good teams and there's so many good players on our team that like, you don't really have that room for error. You kind of have to be dialed in every game and making sure that you're making the right play and making smart plays and playing hard. And, you're getting pucks out of your zone. Cause if you don't, you're probably going to give up a goal if you turn it over. Where in college, you might be able to have a turnover and nothing happens, where mistakes definitely get magnified. And I think I'm just kind of learning how to play a more, north, south, hopefully power forward that can score goals. And that's what's going to help me, have success at hopefully one day in the NHL consistently is kind of be that type of player. So I think it's all really good things that I think every, younger player coming into pro hockey has to learn. And I think, I'm going through it, and I think I've, done an okay job, but I think I still have a lot more room to grow and continue to learn. Cause there is a lot. You think the game,
Yeah.
You think you kind of have it all figured out in college. And, I give credit to my Northeastern coaches. They did a great job. And like all the stuff, they talked about at Northeastern, the coaches here are talking about, but it's just a bit harder to do it at this level, obviously, and consistently. And I think as I go, hopefully I'll get more comfortable with it.
So like even off the ice, how big of an adjustment was it for you? Like just kind of, because obviously, you're from, Milton, you went to school in Mass, like you're at the end of the day, man, you're 24 years old. Like, has it been like a culture shock to you? Like just kind of being away from home and, just being in a new area, like a completely different part of the, the country, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I think that's something that I don't think about as much as I probably should give myself a little bit more credit for. Is like, it is hard. It is my real, I mean, I played juniors for a year, but this is kind of real life now. And it is a lot different in every aspect. In college, you wake up, you go to class till about 1 o'clock with, all your best friends. and then you go get lunch with all your boys, and then you go to practice with all your boys, and you go eat with all your boys, and you know, maybe do some homework, and then you watch a movie with, you know, 8 guys, and then you go to bed with your 4 roommates, and you're with them 24/7. Your schedule is very kind of regimented throughout the week, and you're playing games on the weekends, and you're always with people. You're on a college campus surrounded by all young people your age, and there's a big social aspect to college as well. Like, there's a lot of things, and then worst case, I'm, you know, 10-15 minutes from home that my dad can come and drop something off if I, you know, need laundry, or if we want to get dinner, if I want to go home and take a nap. Like, you know, seeing a ton of my family all the time. And, you know, now it's, you know, wake up at the rink at, you know, 8, practice at 10, you know, work out before practice, and I'm done by 11:30, and then I got the rest of the day. Right. And, you know, I do live with 4 guys, which is great that we kind of have each other. But then again, we're in a new area that, you know, Abbotsford, there's not a ton going on. It's not like I'm in downtown Boston. So it is different, and you're away from your friends, your family. So it is lonely. And I think a lot of guys have a bit harder time with that at first, of kind of finding like what to do. Cause you know, you can only watch so many movies or watch TV shows. Like, it's kind of, you got to find to start something. You know, so that's been a bit of an adjustment, but I think I feel a lot more comfortable now. And I think I have a bit more of a routine of, like, you know, even just going on for a walk or getting groceries or going to do something. Like, any excuse to get out of the house and do something in the afternoon is a good thing. So I think that part of it gets a little bit overlooked, because people think that, you know, adjustment to pro hockey is just on the ice, but it is off the ice as well.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Like, again, for someone who has, you know, lived in Mass their whole life, and then all of a sudden, snap of a finger, you're in a completely different place. Like, for sure, you got to give yourself a lot of credit. And, you know, again, you're still only 24 years old, and like, to ask a lot of other 24-year-olds to do that, not to mention adjusting to the pro game, like, it's a huge adjustment. And I commend you for doing it, because it's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Right before this, I was watching. I remember your first goal against Calgary, and can you take us through what you remember about that goal? I mean, I just watched, man, and like, towards the end of the play, you know, you win a puck battle against fucking Milan Lucic, and it's like, what? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, this is unreal. Like, and then, you know, your best buddies on the ice, you know, sallying with you, and it's just unbelievable. Like, take us through what you remember about that, your first goal.
Yeah, crazy, because like you said, I didn't even know that Bones was on the ice, and I didn't know. Yeah, Milan Lucic. I just remember he tried to make a play kind of through my skates, hit my skate, and I just cycled it behind the net. Milan Lucic obviously has had some troubles recently, but he was one of my favorite players growing up. A big lefty power forward who could score and fight. Had his poster up on my wall. And I cycled it to the net. I think Jack Studnicka, who's a good buddy of mine, former Bruins player, he actually just got traded the other day, which was sad. But he did a wrap around on the net. The rebound came out. Sheldon Dries, when playing with now, made a great play to whack it kind of behind the net, behind the back, right to me, who I just was at the net. And I know that when I played in Chicago the day before, I had a chance to score, and I kind of like didn't have my stick ready on the ice, and I kind of like went down for it, and it bounced over my stick. And Coach Keefe would always talk about hands ready, knees bent, like down and ready to score. And I kind of always pride myself on that. So I was like, okay, well, if I get her on that net tomorrow, like, I'm just going to be ready to score. And it just popped out, and I just, you know, jammed it home, and then turned, and Bones was right there. Just so excited for me. He was on the ice for my first AHL goal too. Same thing. First guy to hug me, like in the same corner, kind of similar, like, goal. It's crazy how things work out like that. To have your best friend there with you, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, dude. Like, I was watching, and all of a sudden you're like fired up. Obviously, you just fucking scored, and then you exactly what you just said. You kind of snap your head around. You're like, dude, like, it was so unreal, though. Man, I one other thing I wanted to touch on. A lot of people are, you know, with the success that you know, Devin Levi's having. Him, you know, what kind of guy was he? Like, I don't know, like, off the ice, on the ice, you just hear these stories that, you know, he's got these crazy routines, and obviously he seems like a really nice kid, really nice guy. What was it like playing with Devin? And you know, are you still in contact with him?
I try to be, but he doesn't answer his phone. He's he's probably the worst person ever on their phone. Like, I think I sent him a message on Snapchat 2 weeks ago, and it just was.
He's a goal. He's a goalie. He'll go.
But I think if I texted him or called him, he'd answer. But
yeah,
he's an unbelievable guy. He's like a guy that everyone loves. He loves all the boys. I don't think there's a bad ounce in his heart. Like, he truly loves everyone that he meets. He's he's a puppy. Like, he's a dog. Like, he's just always like so happy, smiling. Like, hey, Dad. Hey, man. Like, he's just always in a good mood. And he's a great guy, and he works extremely hard. I think, like you said about his routines, he's very dialed in. Taught me a lot about the mental side, and some preparation. Gave me some books to read. Like, he's really dialed in, very focused, but also like very gullible and very out to lunch at the same time. Like, he's just a goofy kid, but he's very well spoken, very well mannered, very nice. Everyone loves him. But very good at hockey, obviously. Like, scoring on him in practice was not easy. In games was probably even harder for the other teams because, we wouldn't obviously say much to him. He puts his headphones on and meditates in between periods, and definitely does some wacky stuff. But just a great teammate that I've been lucky to play with and call a friend.
Yeah. Another thing I kind of wanted to ask you early on, just kind of escaped me. You get drafted, seventh round, 195th overall. Did you were there any other teams that you thought there was a good chance that you'd go to? And then also, what was it like, ultimately getting that call and finding out that you're drafted to the NHL? Like, how surreal was it to you? And what do you remember about, having family around and stuff?
Yeah, I remember it really well. Well, so that was my second year to be able to get drafted. So my first draft year eligible was my senior year at Thayer. And I interviewed with 10 teams, maybe more. I was playing with Jay O'Brien, who we probably had, 30 NHL scouts at every game. Did a bunch of interviews, and obviously he was very highly touted, was supposed to go in the first round, which he obviously eventually did. So I fully thought I was going to get drafted. I went to the Pittsburgh Penguins combine before the draft and did some skates and stuff like that with them. So I was okay, I thought it went well. So I was okay, I'm probably going to get drafted by Pittsburgh. So I sat at home, watched the whole draft with my dad, and didn't get picked. Pittsburgh had a pick in the 6th or 7th round, where I was all right, maybe they'll get me the kid from St. Seb's, Liam Gorman. And I was, definitely upset. But my dad's well, you can either let this, derail you, or you can use it as motivation. So I thought I was going to draft by Pittsburgh my first year. Then my second year, I didn't even think about it at all. I didn't interview with anyone. Played the year in Cedar Rapids. Was in and out of the lineup. I was getting healthy scratch until probably November, December-ish. So I was there's no way I'm getting drafted. And then the second half of the year, I turned it on. Got the call from Northeastern. They wanted me to come in, and had a really good second half of the year. And then the next year the draft's going on. I'm okay, well, I'm not getting drafted. I'm not even gonna think about it. So I went to Martha's Vineyard with all my best friends from Milton. 4 of us at our buddy's house, and we were getting off the ferry, and we were getting a bite to eat at Nancy's right on the water there. And my buddies are in the bathroom, and they come running out, and they're screaming, and they're dude, you just got drafted. I'm what? And I looked down at my phone. My dad, he was watching the whole thing.
Dude,
he just called me, and he was bud, you just got drafted. He was obviously so excited. Then after that, my phone just went nuts, and it was a really special moment. And then that night, I had to fly to Vancouver the next morning at 6 a.m. and I was on the Vineyard. So my dad drove down to the Cape. I took the last ferry at 9 o'clock out of the Vineyard to Woods Hole, and then my dad got me, drove me back. I woke up the next morning and flew off to development camp. But very special, and very, very cool to be able to share with my best friends, to have them there with me, because they've been my boys forever and still are. So that was a really special moment.
I can't say I've heard a story like that, dude, where you just kind of are just chilling.
But it honestly was better off just not thinking about it at all. Just going to the Vineyard for a weekend to have fun, and kind of ended up working out.
like, so you mentioned, that you weren't really thinking about it, but like now you look back, do you kind of use that as like a chip on your shoulder almost that like, you were seventh, first time around, you didn't get drafted, second time around, which again, even to get drafted is unreal, but like seventh round pick, do you kind of like still kind of have a chip on your shoulder because of that? Or is it just something you kind of just put in the rear view and just kind of focus on, what's ahead of you?
Yeah, I think like early on after my first freshman year of college, I was definitely like, okay, like these guys got all picked ahead of me, and I think I did better than this year. And you kind of think about that. But I think as time's gone on, you don't really think about that. I think
Yeah.
In my head, I just think more like things haven't came easy to me. They never really have. At there and college and juniors, like I've had to work for it. And I have, they aren't coming, like it's been a bit of a slow start up and down so far. So it's like, I just know that things haven't came easy. I'm going to have to work for it, and it's going to take some time. But hopefully I'll get there eventually, and just know that, it's not going to be the easiest road, but it'll be well worth it.
Have any of the older guys that are up in the, obviously Vancouver right now is incredibly talented team. I mean, Quinn Hughes is ripping it up. Elias Pettersson is, Elias Pettersson things. Brock Besser, like, have any of those older guys reached out to you and just kind of offered you any type of like mentorship or just advice about being a pro?
I think, well, this year, no. I mean, they're focused on their season, and I think we have guys in our team that can help do that. In Abbotsford, we have some great veteran guys. But last year, yeah, all the guys were really helpful. I think they were all, every one of them was really nice. I don't really have a bad word to say about all the guys. They were, very helpful and nice, and it's a job. Like, you're going about your business, and like they're doing that, and they go home with their families, and I'm going about my business. But
yeah.
I think like Connor Garland, I knew him a little bit, obviously from playing before we got to play together last year, and he's definitely helped me. He's
mass
hard
connection.
Yeah, he's hard on all of his buddies in the summer, but like he means it out of that he cares about us and wants us to get better, and he pushes us. Tyler Myers is a great guy. Dakota Joshua helped me a lot. Studnika did, because we kind of both had the Boston connection. JT Miller was honestly really good to me in terms of like mentoring, a little bit of like advice here and there, and making you feel comfortable with kind of like, busting your chops every once in a while, but then also like telling you good job, or hey, work on this. Like, they're all really good people, and I'm not surprised at all that they're having the success that they've had. And then down here we have Matt Irwin, who's on his 16th year of pro hockey.
Yeah.
Played in a few Stanley Cup finals. Like, he's great to all of us. He's just an unbelievable guy. John Stevens has helped me a lot. He's obviously played at Northeastern. Then Bonesy helped me a ton too when he was here. He got traded. But the whole team, everyone's been really good. Mark Ackholm, my roommate, played at UConn. Like, he's been really helpful too, because we lived together, and he's been through it. It's his second year, so there's a lot of guys. It's pretty. You don't have to look too far for help around here. But at the end of the day, as well, like, they're trying to do their job.
Yeah.
Now I have to do mine, but there is a lot of guys.
Yeah. So as we've kind of gone on and done these episodes, we've had people reach out and just kind of ask about, like, they have kids and they want to know what it takes to get to the prep level in Mass, not in Mass, but just the level of prep, then college, then what advice would you give to a kid that's kind of, got that dream of making it big, making it to the show? Like, what advice would you give them? Things they should be doing on and off the ice, and just habits they should have. Obviously you've made it like highest level. So what advice would you give those kids with dreams of making it to the show?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a lot of things, obviously, depending on the age, but I think like early on when you're younger, it's just that love for the game and having fun. Because if you love something, and like shooting pucks in your backyard or stick handling with your buddies doesn't feel like work, then you'll get better. You'll develop. If your dad's yelling at you or making you go out the back and shoot 100 pucks before every game, then it's probably not going to feel great, and you're probably not going to want to do it after a while. But if you just naturally love to do it, and you kind of authentically get into that, then I think you're going to be able to, like, the more you love the game, the better you're going to be. But my things, I guess, would be like, have fun, because it's a game. Watch hockey. Like I went to as many Nobles, St. Seb's, Thayer games growing up as I could. And then as I got older, college games, I went to every BC game on a Friday night. I watched Gaudreau. I watched Kevin Hayes. Like I went to all those games. So like I would watch hockey. You don't have to go to the Bruins game and, spend a couple $100 every time. It's like go to like your local Milton High game or Nobles game or a college game. College game tickets are cheap. So I would do that because I think you learn the game. And there's a lot of things you can pick up from obviously watching. And I think as a kid, like, it just makes it special. It makes going to the rink with your dad special. Like we'd go on Friday nights and we'd drive through Jamaica Plain. And those were like some of the best memories of me when I was younger, getting the popcorn at the game. And then you get to sit down and watch and ask the trainer for tape or like whatever. Like that's the best part. And then as you get older, I think surrounding yourself with good players and a good coach, it's really important. There's a lot of good coaches out there and there's a lot of coaches that don't really know what they're doing. So get yourself on a team with a good coach. And I was lucky to have that with Neil Shea Sr., with Jason Rathbone. And those guys really helped me out when I was younger because they played the game they played at BC, they played the game at a high level and they cared. We played together on the same team for a long time and they really cared about us. And I also played with good players. So like I wouldn't be signing up for every summer tournament that you can, because a lot of the times it's just a money grab and the coaches, don't care. And the kids in the team could be, random kids. Like I only played in a summer tournament with my buddies.
Yeah.
And we would go as a group of like 8 and then we'd get the other kids to come in. And like, we would always have good teams because we all, we're good players. We play together and that's really important. And then I think for prep schools are going to go watch those good players play together. So like if you're on a team, like I played with Jay O'Brien and Jack Rathbone and, Mike Callahan, all these guys growing up on the same team. So when the scouts were going to watch them, like they're inevitably going to see me at some point.
Right.
So I think that's important to surround yourself with because a lot of times there's good players. Sometimes they get lost, which people always say if you're a good player, they'll find you, which is true. But sometimes good players do get lost because they're not really being seen in the right situations. And then for prep schools, I would reach out via email. That's going to help probably. And then also, being on those good select teams and half-season teams and being at those showcases where colleges and prep schools are going to be at is going to be important. And then, if you do all that stuff and you make it to prep school, and the best thing you can do, I guess, is just produce, right? And play well, and then you'll get noticed by colleges. If you're playing in prep school and you're doing well, then they'll notice you. College coaches, they look everywhere for sure.
Awesome, man. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day. Obviously I know you're got a lot going on, playing for Abbotsford, and honestly can't thank you enough for taking time coming on and just, chatting. And I wish you the best of luck along the way. I mean, keep killing it over there. And take care, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, sorry about taking so long, but
you're good.
Glad I did it. It was a fun time. So I
appreciate
it.
It worked out. Episode 25. I mean,
I know.
It kind of worked out. It aligned, and the stars aligned, and it was awesome. I mean, I was so excited to hear your story, and obviously you being a local kid, and myself, I grew up in Mass and always would go to the Bean Pots, and then obviously being at Northeastern when you were there, getting to go watch, it was unreal. So I was really excited to do this interview. But yeah, man, thank you, and best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you.
Take care, man. Thank you. That was Aidan McDonough, former captain of the Northeastern Huskies and current forward in the Vancouver Canucks organization. Just an unbelievable guy. Man, I was really fired up to do that episode. Getting to watch him in the Bean Pot and just, getting to hear his story and, getting to hear that advice at the end that he has for the younger kids coming up. Just unbelievable. Just an inspiration, and then hopefully kids, can listen to this and kind of take that advice and use it in their own lives and, train and fall in love with the game and, achieve your dreams. But that was episode 25 of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Production. I am your host, Chris Davis, and we will see you next time, guys. Take care.